to Virgo Potens. I invite you to give this video a like and to subscribe to my channel. YouTube has introduced a great feature called Super Thanks. If you enjoy this video, you can support my work or say thank you by clicking on the Super Thanks icon. It's similar to offering support through a super chat. Prophecies and Revelations by Saint Bridget of Sweden. Narrated by Tony Capobianco. About how, in the presence of the heavenly host and of the bride, the divinity spoke to the manhood against the Christians, just as God spoke to Moses against the people of Israel, and about how damned priests love the world and despise Christ, and about their condemnation and damnation. Chapter 48. A great host was seen in heaven, and God said to it, "My friends, who know and understand and see all things in me, I am speaking in your presence, for the sake of my bride standing here, like someone who speaks to himself, for in this way does my divinity converse with my humanity. Moses was with God on the mountain 40 days and nights, and when the people saw that he had been gone so long, they took gold and threw it into the fire, and shaped a calf out of it, calling it their God. Then God said to Moses, 'The people have sinned. I will wipe them out, just like something written is erased from a book.' Moses answered, 'No, my Lord, do not. Remember that you led them up from the Red Sea and worked wonders for them. If you erase and destroy them, where is your promise then? I beg you, do not do this, for then your enemies will say, 'The God of Israel is evil, who led the people up from the sea, but killed them in the desert.'" And God was appeased by these words. I am this Moses, figuratively speaking. My divinity speaks to my manhood just as to Moses, saying, "Behold what your people have done, and see how they have despised me. All the Christians shall be killed, and their faith eradicated." My humanity answers, "No, Lord. Remember that I led the people through the sea in my blood, when I was bruised from the top of my head to the sole of my foot. I have promised them eternal life. Have mercy on them for the sake of my suffering." After hearing these words, the divinity was appeased and said, "Thy will be done, for all judgment is given to you." See what love, my friends! But now in your presence, my spiritual friends, angels, and saints, and in the presence of my bodily friends, who are in the world and yet not in the world, except with their body, I complain that my people are gathering firewood and lighting a fire, throwing gold into the fire so that a calf emerges for them, to adore and worship as a god. It stands like a calf on 4 feet, having a head, a throat, and a tail. When Moses delayed on the mountain a long time without returning, the people said, "We do not know what may have happened to him after this long time." And they were displeased that he had led them out of captivity and slavery. And they said, "Let us find another god to go before us." This is what these damned priests are now doing to me. For they say, "Why should we have a more austere life than others? What is our reward for this? It is better for us to live in peace and as we want. Let us love the world that we are certain about, for we are uncertain about his promise." Then they gather firewood when they devote all their senses to the love of the world. They light a fire when they have a complete desire for the world. They burn when their lust glows in their mind and proceeds in an act. They grow in gold, which means that all honor and love they should show to me, they show to get honor of the world. Then the calf emerges, which means a complete love of the world. It has 4 feet of sloth, impatience, superfluous rejoicing, and greediness. For these priests, who should be my servants, are slothful in honoring me, impatient in suffering anything for my sake, excessive in rejoicing, and never satisfied with the things that they have. This calf also has a head and throat, which means a complete will for gluttony that can never be satisfied, not even if the whole sea were to flow into it. The tail of the calf is their malice, for they do not let anyone keep his property if they can take it from him. By their bad example and their contempt, they injure and pervert everyone who serves me. Such is the love for the calf that is in their hearts, and in such they rejoice and lust. They think about me as those others did about Moses, and say, "He has been gone for a long time. His words appear vain, and his deeds burdensome. Let us have our own will. Let our power and will be our God." And they are not even satisfied by these things, and forget me entirely, but instead, they have me as their idol. The heathens used to worship wood and stones and dead men, and among others, an idol called Beelzebub was worshipped, whose priests used to offer him incense with devotional genuflections and shouts of praise. And everything in their offering that was useless, they dropped on the ground, and the birds and flies ate it up. But everything that was useful, the priests hid away for themselves. They locked the door on their idol, and kept the key for themselves, so that nobody could go in. This is what the priests are doing to me in this time. They offer me incense, that is, they speak and preach beautiful words in order to win praise for themselves, and some temporal benefit, but not out of love of me. Just as the scent of the incense cannot be captured, but only felt and seen, so their words do not attain any benefit for souls, so that it can take root and be kept in their hearts. But they are only heard and seem to please for a short time. They offer me prayers, but not the kind that are pleasing to me. Like those who shouts praise with their mouths and are silent in their hearts, they stand next to me shouting with their mouths, while in their hearts and thoughts they wander around the world. But if they were speaking with a mighty or powerful man, then their hearts would follow their own speech and words, so that no one would be able to remark on them. But in my presence the priests are like men who are mentally deranged, for they say one thing with their mouths and have another in their hearts. No one who hears their words can be certain about their meaning. They bend their knees for me, that is, they promise me humility and obedience, but in truth their humility is as Lucifer's, and they are obedient to their own desires and not me. They also lock me in constantly and keep the key for themselves. They open up for me and praise me when they say, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." But then they lock me in again by fulfilling their own will, while my will is as an imprisoned and powerless man who can neither be seen nor heard. They keep the key for themselves when they, by their bad example, also lead astray others who want to do my will. And if they could, they would gladly forbid my will from being fulfilled and accomplished, except when it suits their own will. They also hide anything in the offering that is necessary and useful to them. That is, they demand all their honor and privileges, but the human body, who falls to the ground and dies, and for which they should offer the best sacrifice, him they consider as useless, and leave the body to the flies, that is, to the worms on the ground. They do not care or bother about their obligation for the salvation of souls. But what was said to Moses? Kill those who made this idol. And some were killed, but not all. In the same way, my words will now come and kill them, some in body and soul, and by eternal damnation, others unto life, so that they should convert and live, others through a fast death, for these priests are altogether abhorrent to me. But what shall I liken them to? They are indeed like the fruit of the thorn bush, which is beautiful and red on the outside, but inside is full of impurity and stinging thorns. In the same way, these come to me as men who are red with love, and they seem to be pure to men, but inside they are full of all filth. If this fruit is laid in the earth, other thorn bushes grow up from it. In the same way, these hide their sin and malice in their heart as in the earth, and they become so rooted in evil that they do not even blush to appear in public and boast about their sin. Hence, other men not only find a reason to sin, but also become deeply wounded in their souls, thinking thus to themselves, "If priests do this, it is even more permitted for us to do it." And they are not only like the fruit of the thorn bush, but also the thorns, for they disdain to be moved by reproach and admonition, and they consider no one to be as wise as them, and think that they can do everything they want. Therefore, I swear by my divinity and manhood, in the hearing of all the angels, that I shall break down the door that they have closed on my will, and my will shall be fulfilled, and their will shall be annihilated and locked in eternal torment and anguish. For as it was once said, I shall begin my judgment with the priests, and at my altar. The words of Christ to his bride about how Christ is likened to Moses in a figurative way, leading the people out of Egypt, and about how the damnable priests whom he chose in the place of the prophets as his most beloved friends now cry, "Depart from us." Chapter 49. The Son of God spoke. Earlier I likened myself to Moses in a figurative way. When he led the people out, the water stood like a wall to the right and to the left. I am in truth this Moses, figuratively speaking, who led my Christian people out, that is, I opened heaven for them and showed them the way. But now I have chosen other friends for myself, more loved and intimate than the prophets, namely, my priests, who do not only hear my words and see, when they see me myself, but also touch me with their hands, which none of the prophets or angels could do. These priests, whom I have chosen in place of the prophets as my friends, cry out to me, but not with such desire and love as the prophets did. No, the priests and the prophets cry out with two opposing voices. For the priests do not cry out as the prophets did, "Come, Lord, for you are sweet," but they cry out instead, "Depart from us, for your words are bitter and your deeds heavy, and they make us ashamed." Hear what these accursed priests say. I stand before them like the most meek and gentle sheep, from which they get wool for their clothing and milk for their food. And yet they despise me for such a great love. I stand before them like a guest saying, "Friend, give me the necessities of life for my body, for I need it, and you will receive the greatest reward from God in return." But even though I appeared with the simplicity of a sheep, they drive me away as a wolf lying in wait for the master's sheep. They do not want to show me any hospitality, and refuse to take me into their house, but instead they affront me like a traitor, unworthy of receiving hospitality from them. But what will the guest do when he has been rejected? Should he not bring out arms against the master of the house who drove him away? By no means, for this would not be just, since the owner can deny or give his belongings to whomever he wants. But then what shall the guest do? He should indeed say to the one who drove him away, "My friend, since you do not want to take me into your house, I will go to another who will show mercy to me." And when he comes to another, he hears him saying, "You are welcome, my lord. All that I have is yours. You shall now be the lord, and I want to be your servant and guest." Those are the kind of lodgings I am pleased to stay in, where I hear such a voice. I am indeed like a guest driven away by men. But even though I can enter any place by my power, still, on account of justice, I do not. But I only enter to those who receive me with a good will as their true Lord, not as a guest, and entrust all their will into my hands. Welcome to the Virgo Potens YouTube channel. If you enjoy this video, give it a like. I also invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you won't miss new content. Please prayerfully consider supporting my work by becoming a patron of Virgo Potens on Patreon and/or by buying one of my books. My ebooks are available on Amazon as well as on the Apple Bookstore. For those who prefer a physical copy rather than an ebook, my book, Spiritual Warfare, Know Thy Enemy, is also available as a paperback on Amazon. If you are interested in making a one-time contribution, I suggest that you do so by simply buying one of my books. I am thankful for your support. Links to Patreon and to my books will be posted in the comments section of this video. The continuation of this work isn't possible without you. Lastly, and most importantly, please pray for me. May the Virgin Most Powerful guide and protect you.